Hello there folks, I'm Davey Cubed and today I just want to go over the Switch 2 Pro controller. I'm just going to have a little laid back look at it, see some of the things I've liked about it and disliked about it in the 8 months or so that I've had this. I bought this on day release and I have had a really good time with it, but I know how hard it can be buying controllers sometimes when there's a lot on the market, so hopefully this will help you come to the conclusion if this is the right one for you. So let's have a little look. Picking the controller up, the first thing you immediately feel is just how smooth and satisfying it is. It's a really nice matte black, but as you can see it doesn't really hold any fingerprints or anything at all, which I'm a huge fan of. They've actually used fewer pieces of plastic to minimise the amount of grooves, like the little spaces that catch dirt on some controllers. Looking at the bottom, we have a welcome addition to any technology these days, our headphone jack, as well as on the back we have a lovely smooth surface with just our GL and GR buttons sitting flush on the controller. The face buttons feel really nice, quite large and distinct. But the sticks are the star of the show here. Genuinely, they are so quiet and smooth that every time I pick up the controller, I find that I'm just playing with them for a minute before I even turn the switch on. 10 out of 10, fiddle factor. So looking at individual buttons, we have our classic A, B, X, Y. Our plus and minus buttons, which are protruding for feeling them when you're not looking at the controller, which is great. Nice little D-pad there, and the new one to this controller is the C button. This activates the chat on the Switch 2, but this can be reassigned to any other function on the controller easily in the menu, which is good. The whole thing is just very lightweight, but it feels really sturdy, like proper premium product. The bumpers and triggers have a really small amount of travel, which I quite like on a controller. On the back we have our brand new GL and GR buttons, which are assignable paddles, I guess you'd call them, which sit really flushly with the controller, so if you're not using them, you don't really notice they're there, but they're very easy to activate with how comfortable the controller is to hold in your hands, and your fingers are always quite naturally resting against them, which is quite nice. I unfortunately don't have my old Switch 1 Pro controller anymore to compare, so I'll use this Xbox Series controller instead. This is one I put together using an amalgamation of my standard black Series X controller and one of the blue ones that they later released. Please excuse the incredibly warped third-party stick on the left. I was trying to decorate it to look like my Spartan on Halo, and I think it came out okay, but the stick's a bit jank. I do love this Xbox controller. It's really tight and grippy, and I feel really connected to it when I use it. I love it for first-person shooters because I grip quite tight when things get intense, but the Switch 2 Pro pad is just very different in character. With the Xbox controller, my hand can get a little sweaty and I need to take breaks regularly for my own hand comfort. But with the Pro controller, I've been sitting for sessions of 4 hours or so playing Metroid Prime or Tears of the Kingdom before I take a break, and that's just a pee, not due to my hands hurting. So, using Metroid Prime 4 as an example, you can see the use of the gyro controls here. There might be a little delay between the controller and on screen, but that's entirely due to my capture card setup not being optimal. The controller itself has no latency at all. I've actually brought the sensitivity down quite a lot from the default. I think gyro's fantastic as a way of adjusting my aim rather than using it for the entire movement. But I think it works great here, it's really nice. The GL and GR back buttons are a massive feature. To map them, you just hold the home button for about 1 second and then the option appears and then you just click which one it is you want to assign, press the button you want it to be, and then it just takes you straight back into the game. It's like 4 button presses. I used this in Fortnite when I was still getting used to the controller and figuring out how best to map them for my personal taste. It's so snappy, I was taking cover for like 3 seconds mid-combat to assign sprint or jump to the back so I could play without taking my thumbs off the sticks. And for a Nintendo controller, I'm really impressed at how streamlined this is. It's not something you typically see from them. Plus your settings save to your profile and for each game, so when you go back to it your layout's all still there. Staying on Metroid to showcase the D-pad, and I think this is where the controller falls shortest. It's an improvement on the previous Pro controller, but it doesn't showcase fantastically if I'm perfectly honest. I've been really getting into discovering some classics on NSO, especially the Game Boy Advance and Super Nintendo, and honestly, this isn't the controller I would use for it. I struggle with my hand in this position on the D-pad and it just doesn't feel quite fantastic. I'd probably opt for using my Joy-Cons in this scenario instead. I've reviewed this 8BitDo Pro 3 before, and while I'm not an expert on the technicalities of why one D-pad is better than another, sometimes it just is. Like, I don't know why Coca-Cola is better than cheap cola. I don't even know what's in cola. But I know which one's better, you know? The feeling between the two is really prominent, which is definitely in part due to the shape of the controllers, to be fair. The 8BitDo has that dog bone Super Nintendo shape that just works really well for 2D games, but the D-pad itself just feels so much better and more natural. Certainly something to note if you're into fighting games, retro stuff, or 2D indie titles. The Switch 2 Pro controller goes for about £75 RRP, and when I first saw that, I thought it was pretty steep. I personally wouldn't usually spend that much on a controller, but I had saved up a fair bit for the Switch 2 releasing, and I just wanted the best experience. I kinda got into the hype of it all, but I do not regret buying it at all. But I bought my Switch 2, I bought the controller, and I bought the Switch 2 camera, which I do not recommend, and will not be getting its own video. Having a quick Google just now though, most retailers are selling the controller for about £65, which, for comparison, is about the price that Donkey Kong Bonanza is on cartridge, which I think's a fair price. It's not a bargain, but the battery life is 40 hours on this thing, and it's a lot less money than the Pro controllers from PlayStation or Xbox that costs like up to 3 times as much. But is it worth it for you? If you already have a controller for your Switch 1, whether it's on a PowerA or an 8BitDo or the original Pro controller, I wouldn't say this upgrade is completely necessary. If you don't have an actual controller and you maybe just have Joy-Cons from a Switch 1, I'd say, yeah, it's certainly worth thinking about, absolutely. I just don't think you're getting that much bang for your buck with an upgrade. If you're looking for a new controller anyway, I think it's absolutely worth considering, and honestly, I imagine this would then become your daily driver. But if you already have a controller that you use a lot and you are interested in an upgrade, you're just not getting that much back. It's kind of diminishing returns at that point. I think that's what that means. I did not study finance, I have no idea. All in all, it is a fantastic controller. Anytime I have friends around, I'll usually give them this because, frankly, I'm a good host. I'll take the Joy-Cons. But without fail, they'll stop, look at it and be like, whoa, like, this is really nice. I think it speaks for itself once it's in your hands. Even if you're not playing a game with it, as soon as you're holding it, it just feels so good, so natural, and you can tell a lot of work's been put in to make it feel that way. If you have the opportunity to try one at a friend's or something, absolutely, because I don't think anything will help you understand its value more than just having it there in front of you. So to me, I'd say absolutely this controller's worth your money. It being around £75, yes, it is a little bit on the steeper side, but we're just at the start of the Switch 2's life cycle, and I genuinely can't think of anything else that's going to release first party or third party that would make me want to replace this controller. Like, yes, I do have the 8-bit Do controller, but I primarily bought that for my PC so I can play games on there. The fact that it is also a Switch 2 controller is fabulous, but unless I'm really playing those 2D or kind of retro games, I'm not really picking it up for that. If you would like some more information on that 8-bit Do Pro 3 controller, I will try to figure out how to put a card somewhere on the screen about now so that you can have a little look at that video. But other than that, that's us all pretty much wrapped up. Thank you so much for watching this. Please do leave any kind of positive reinforcement down below, whether it's a like, a subscribe, or let me know what you've experienced with a Pro controller so far, if you are thinking about picking one up, or just generally just say hello or whatever you feel like. It's a free country, depending on where you are. But that's all from me. Thank you so much, and catch you in the next one.